They got Willa. They got my daughter. I need to find her. Ah!
From acclaimed director Paul Thomas Anderson.
You can save that girl.
Today, experience what is being called the best movie of the year.
This is the end of the line. Not for you.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor, Chase Infinity.
Let's go! Here I am.
One battle after another. Now playing only in theaters. Experience it in IMAX. Rated R. Under 17 animated without parent.
You can't hide.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to the Super Rugby Cymru podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Super Rugby Cymru podcast. Joining me, Big M, as always, Mr. Rob Rees, Joe Wilson, and John Harris. It's been a while since we'd all been together, so good evening, and how are we?
Good, thanks, Em.
All good. Strange to see four.
Yeah, it's good to be back, boys. After a little sabbatical.
A little sabbatical, yeah. We can take it as that. That'll do it. Okay, so straight into the action. Just the one game last week to talk about. And it wasn't a little game by any means. Llandovery at home to Pontypool. So obviously we didn't have a podcast last week, so it was just the one game and then to review. So Rob, being as our man in that area, what do you think Pontypool were thinking before this game?
Do you know, I think it's hard to judge where Pontypool minds are at the moment because they're sort of too good for the rest of the table. They're a little bit of a chunk off the top four, but it can't really seem to make sense of what their squad is trying to dictate. Like at the moment, you've got the likes of Dane Blacker coming in, seasoned professional. Scott Williams, like I know he hasn't featured at the top level for a while, but a very seasoned international and professional. You've got Tongan internationals on the bench. You've got Dragons galore, and that's sort of a bit of a rotating academy allocation and senior player allocation. So it's a bit of a difficult one to sort of know where their sort of mindset is at the moment. Are they just trying to prep players for the Dragons, or is it a bit of are they still trying to find their sort of diamond 15 and playing around with things? Not that you want to do that up at Church Bank, but yeah, I think was it 9-point margin of difference coming out the back end of this one. It'll be at this stage very disappointing for a Pontypool side that had the strength and in depth, at least on paper, that this one had.
Yeah. So 38-27 it finished in Llandovery's favour. Bonus point win. Didn't get the second attacking bonus point, but Pontypool did get 4 tries of their own. That Tongan international, Solomon Funaki, I think is how you pronounce his name. Said. Might be wrong, but
indeed.
Surely they've they gotta be like kind of happy that they've at least walked away with a point, knowing how tough of a place Church Bank actually is.
It's probably one of those ones. I think the way you sort of set up, you go out to attack these things. Once again, Pontypool's away form is letting them down in the league this season. But as much as I want to say 1 point is probably a fair reflection, even if you went beforehand, Church Bank, Llandovery on a really good run, of course, Llandovery now top of the table, at least until we see some, additional fixtures played out before the next sort of full bank of league fixtures. But I just think that when you got the strength in sort of depth and these players being sort of airdropped into the 23, you got to be looking at doing something different and actually turning sides over. We know Llandovery aren't invincible this season. Yes, they're on a really nice run at the moment, and it remains to be seen what it takes to stop that. But I sort of get the feeling that Pontypool should be disappointed with just a point from this, especially if they sort of start kicking on and looking to get a home tie, which is going to be crucial given their away form is the problem.
Yeah. So from a Llandovery perspective, there were a few Scarlets and who so regulars Ed Scragg and Morgan Jones, who we've seen all season. But they also had Welsh international Stefan Evans come back for his first game in, I think, in almost a year. So they had more than enough. They got more than enough talent anyway. Llandovery without getting these parachute players and especially Welsh internationals at that. I know he hasn't featured on the international stage for a couple of years, but you still have that quality within you. So yeah, I think Llandovery would take the 5. 9 on the bounce now. Only lost the one game at home in what feels like forever. That was courtesy of Vale earlier this season, of course. But yeah, I think Llandovery's mindset have got to be 5 points as a minimum every game, and doesn't matter if you're going to Cardiff or Newport or Vale. I know few of those fixtures are done, but that is the mindset these top 4 have got to be in. If you get any less than 5 points, you're going to be losing ground, and you could still be losing ground if that. So if we come on to this week, it's a bit of an awkward one because we've got the start of the SRC Cup, which is incredibly exciting. At least I feel it's quite exciting, so I'm quite looking forward to this. But we also have a league fixture to play. So that league fixture is Bridgend against Newport. So, John, I guess you kind of cover Bridgend being, the Australian as such. So, yep. What do you think the thoughts are going into this one? Scott Baldwin's men.
Well, they're finding some form again now, aren't they? They've started. They've strung a couple of wins together. Beat Aberafan again, which I was none too pleased about after Aberafan had I didn't get to go to the game, but I was keeping up with the Twitter updates, getting notifications every time there was a score. So half time when I seen 20 points to 5 or 20 points to 7, I was like, oh, this is going quite well. And then by 53 minutes, Bridgend had taken the lead and scored 3 tries within 13 minutes of the second half. And I was like, what the hell is going on in this one? And then thought we might get a little bit back then with a penalty try. Abraham's top try scorer nearly every year, penalty try. And Bridgend going down a man with a in the last 10, going into injury time, and they've given 2 penalties away, and Bridgend have done a job then with 14 men on the pitch. So they're going to be confident, and at the Brewery Field, I'd quite fancy them to turn Newport over. I know Newport are quality, but I think Bridgend are just finally finding that bit of form I thought they were going to find earlier in the season when they won 2 or 3 games in a row. And I don't know, I feel like Newport, it sounds harsh because Newport's still right up there, still one of the best teams in this league, but I feel like they're having a little bit of a lull by their high standards from the start of the season. So yeah. I quite fancy Bridgend for this one. Bookies fancy Newport mind, 2-5, 7-4 for Bridgend. They're giving Bridgend a 7-point head start, and as we know, bookies are never far wrong. But for me, I'm fancying Bridgend for this one, and especially know that I think this is those wins taking Bridgend up to 5th. I want to say above Pontypool. So that if they're in a right battle now with Pontypool to try and break away from that bottom 3 or 4 teams to try and get the top 6 and be best of the rest behind the big 4. So that they've got that spurring them on as well. So I think this could be a little cracker down the Brewery Field.
Yeah. So as it stands, Bridgend sit in 6th and Pontypool in 5th, both on the same amount of match points. But the first tiebreaker is matches 1, and Pontypool better that by just a single game. Bridgend have scored a hell of a lot of tries, to be fair to them, and they are on a bit of a streak, let's say, so 2 games in a row. And then it's the opposite for Newport, like you just said. They've lost 2 in a row. So, Rob, I'll come back to you because this is still technically your area. Should Newport be wary of this? Is a 7-point lead enough, really?
Yeah, it's definitely the sort of fixture that Newport need to keep an eye on, really, especially knowing what sort of happened down at Spitley Park at the start of the season. Newport came out the quicker side, conceded a couple of tries. They then took on past the 40-point mark, I think it was, before conceding 2 late tries that sort of flattered the sort of the overall dominance, perhaps. But Bridgend are one of these sort of sides, especially at home, that they can really string some good rugby together. And that's not always upfront, physical, going through set piece rugby, but really good on the eye, the aesthetically pleasing sort of rugby. RGC on the carpet up in Colwyn Bay is never an easy place to go, and they've dealt with that. They've got some nice performances this season, but I think they're still waiting for that one performance against the top side. I think they haven't turned over anybody in that top 4. But this is probably a better, as good a time as any. You've got and both sides going in off a couple of weeks off. Can you catch Newport off guard? I think Newport are struggling a little bit where the set piece was absolutely dominant last year. It's not as much as a weapon this season for them. And I think that's, we're missing Peard and Landman in that second row now for some time is sort of playing its toll on that. But yeah, it's certainly one I would probably still favour Newport at the moment, but I think it's one that certainly wouldn't surprise a huge amount of people if Bridgend were to steal this one.
Fair enough. So, does that mean you're going with Bridgend or are you sticking your guns with Newport?
Stick the guns with Newport.
And Joe, final word by here, my friend.
Yeah, I think the Newport setup, we've disappointed with the last 2 results, really. And I think this is a surface that suits them. So I'm kind of with the bookies on this one. I think Newport will go down there and do a number. I do think it's a really good point, the impact of the loss of the 2 locks to that team, because they've been able to lay, that front 5 have been able to lay, or at least get parity of possession pretty much against everyone they've played this year in Newport. And I just think that those 2 locks being missing for such a sustained period has had an impact in the last 2 games. So if they can muster up a front 5 performance that gets some parity, I think they'll have enough to put Bridgend away. And I think that's kind of, despite the last 2 wins for Bridgend, I still feel that's the soft underbelly, is that pack. It's still very lightweight. So I'm expecting Newport to bounce back here.
Okay. So obviously neither of these teams involved in the SRC Cup this weekend, but I did manage to get a word in with Tyrone Morris. So this is what he had to say. So first round of the Cup, they have a bye, which means they'll get to face Bridgend, which obviously we just discussed in the league fixture this weekend. So we'll join the rest of the teams next weekend when we travel to face Swansea. Swansea's always a tough place to play, and earlier this season they took a world-class finish from our hooker Wade Langley to break the deadlock in the final minutes. I expect another challenge next Saturday. This cup competition presents a great opportunity for players who haven't had much game time so far, encouraging healthy competition places across the squad. So that's Tyrone's take on this cup competition. So I'd like each of you to really have just a brief word on what you were looking forward to with this competition. So, John, you were the very last on my screen, so I'll start with you.
I'm just looking forward to seeing some rugby. That's the main thing. I think Aberravon have played 11 games so far this season, and something flashed up on Facebook the other day was like from the early 90s, showing up an old, like one of those old Brewers annuals or something, showing the games and the fixtures that teams had back then. And I counted, it was like 22, 23 fixtures by Christmas. I just don't think it don't feel like we're playing enough rugby, these boys, personally. You know, we're getting these little bursts of a couple of games, and then we just seem to be getting long layoffs then. And these boys, I thought the point of this is to get these boys playing regular. So if they need to be called up, then they're fresh, they're ready. So the main thing I'm looking forward to is just getting back to seeing some rugby again. It's been too long, and it feels like this competition was just kind of thrown together when they realised, oh, hang on, 10 teams, that's 9 home games for everyone, only 18 games for the season. If we're going to cut all these clubs money, then the only way they make money is games. So they had to do something, and it just feels like they kind of threw this together at the end. Don't get me wrong, if Aberravon could go and win it, I think it'd be the best thing ever then. It'd be amazing. But that's the main thing. I would maybe they could have done something with including the Premiership teams, unless they were worried that they might have been stronger than they thought. But I just want to see some rugby be played now.
Yeah. So I think we can all agree there are some issues with the season scheduling, and we will come on to that at a later podcast. But for now, John is very happy to see some rugby, whether it's SRC or SRC Cup. It doesn't matter. So, Joe, on to you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting for all the sides now in this cup competition, because we've obviously got, all the sides will be losing players to this Wales, the Wales under-20s camps in various forms. Cardiff have got, I think, 5 players in that Wales under-20s team, so three from the back line and two up front. So it's impactful what happens here, and I think. To Tyrone's point, I think it's really good for the rest of that squad then that's been in and around but not maybe getting enough minutes, that they can use this cup competition to get really up to speed and get some games on board. And for those boys that are a little bit older in each of those squads than the under-20s boys, it's a chance for them to showcase their skills and show the regions what they're capable of doing. Or alternatively, if the regions aren't going to look at them, show some other sides around the world, maybe France D2 and in England the Championship, what they're capable of doing. So I don't expect there to be any let off in the standard of rugby at all. If anything, I think you'll see a lot of players desperate to make a point and demonstrate that they should have been starting from the very beginning. So I think it's going to be a really exciting competition. And knockout rugby always produces a bit of excitement and a bit of edge of seat stuff. So hopefully that's what's going to transpire, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that, especially since 1 or 2 of the regular names that have lit up the SRC so far are going to be missing.
Yeah, there's bound to be some shock results in there somewhere, isn't there? So I think that's something to look forward to. Yeah. But what I'd like to know about this as well is what the teams are thinking of it. Are they thinking, let's use this cup now to rotate the squads around a bit, give some of these boys who haven't been starting game time and keep the first choice fresh for the league? Or are they thinking, right, well, we've only got to win a couple of games per year and we're going to be in a final in Cardiff, so let's go all out for this and put our best team out?
It's interesting, isn't it, as well, because I think the coaches will have all the stats, but particularly when you get to January, February time with the softer pitches, the injury rates start to go up, and also players, like we said, are going to be missing from selection to age grade selection. So I think in part it's going to be partly forced upon them, but you'd think that if they don't do it, it's going to be difficult for those players to just parachute into a squad where everyone else is flying and they haven't had any games at all. So it's a balancing act for the coaches, isn't it? But I think they're going to be trying to get as much minutes under the belts of some players who haven't had any exposure at all.
Rob?
Yeah, I think I quite like the format of the two home games, two away games. Obviously, you don't play any of the sides in your pool more than the once. But I quite like that sort of format because because it's such a short pool stage format. It's not home and away. It does work pretty much like a knockout. I mean, you look at the one side of the draw and you've got Ebervale, Pontypool, and Newport. Three of the top five are all in one side of the draw. If you lose that opening round game, all of a sudden you're playing catch up, and then of course you've got the bye fixture, which always means that the table isn't aligned until the final round of fixtures. So you've always got that sort of leapfrogging sort of somebody goes top, but then they're not going to play next week, so someone else will go top. You've always got that little bit of added jeopardy and additional pressure, and I think it does come at a nice time. I think a lot of the sides will be playing full strength as they can. The breaks, as John said, haven't helped quite a few sides. And whilst there's a lot of players now away with the under 20s, if you once you start averaging that out, it won't decrease the actual squad strength across the boards. Just if we're looking at the under 20s that are going to be missing, so I think it'll be a strong competition and one that we can look forward to. And then it's going to be a tasty final, knowing that there is no, sort of knockout rounds as such. It's straight into the final. So you are going to have two top quality teams. You got to be consistent. There's no luck of the draw as such, or someone's fluking their way to a final. You got to win a really strong 4 games. And I think you're probably going to have to win all 4 of your games to be able to get to that final, which is good because ultimately, right, what we want is someone winning the cup who's won 5 games. You don't want someone winning the cup who's lost, especially if there's someone else who hasn't lost until the final. All of that side of things. I know the Rugby World Cup works exactly the same in terms of a pool stage, and a lot of major tournaments do across other sports, including sort of football. But yeah, I think it's given that opportunity for someone to go 5 games in a run now across the next few months and say, yeah, let's take the cup. This is still effectively the cup that's been lifted by the likes of Neath and Swansea, Cardiff. Unfortunately, John Ebervale and Aberravon have got 5 finals between us and got.
Yeah.
But this is still that final. It's still that embryo of all those years gone by, and the internationals playing on the sort of the national pitch, and this is still that top prize. Yes, the league changes every other year, and sort of the cup has sort of altered slightly, and obviously a lot since it first came around. But this is ultimately what it's all about.
And you look at someone like I know we spoke about him earlier, but you look at a team like Pontypool, for instance, who've had so many different players, very recently just parachuted in. That and Tom Hancock really, let's not forget he took over, I think, 4 weeks after the start of the season, so he's still trying to get his game plan together for Pontypool. But I think what you are beginning to see from a side like Pontypool is, although there's been sort of a bit of a changing of players and new signings, etc., scoring 4 tries away from home, I think that's a Tom Hancock blueprint there, and he'll be looking for continuity. He'll be looking for continuity because he wants that first choice team to get better and better. So it's going to be a hell of a cup competition, that's for sure.
Yeah. So if I'm being totally honest with you boys, you haven't left me with really much I can say. Now you've kind of taken everything. Charming. Always charming.
Are there bonus points in the groups? That's what I wanted to ask. Do we know that?
Yeah, I believe it works exactly the same as we do with the league. Which again,
so the extra one for the 15 points as well.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, is being played.
Because that could add to it as well.
It all adds a little bit of jeopardy, and the same with the bonus points, right? Is if you drop a bonus point, there's a chance that somebody's going to be picking up bonus points. Is the Six Nations Grand Slam thing, right? Where they had to add particular bonus points for the Grand Slam because you could win the championship by losing a game, and the side could come in second by winning all their games, right? I know that's slightly different format that we're looking at here, but it gives that additional bit of jeopardy. If someone takes 2 bonus points from a game, all of a sudden, compared it to what you can say, I might have got a 4-point win. You're only 2 points off where you thought you might have been.
So I think the only thing I can really say now to that I'm actually excited about seeing is obviously we're losing the under-20s boys. We know that. I think there's 29 of them that have losing from the SRC or thereabouts. So this is an opportunity for the club's pathways to step in, to see what their youth players, to see what they've done with their club teams over the last 3-4 years since districts or first year rag. So that is something I'm really excited, to see a few more 19, 20-year-olds get some opportunities here. So and let's be honest, there's always cases where boys are missed early on, the late developers. So this is really the place for them. If they've been lucky enough to get into one of these SRC clubs, then this is the perfect, showroom for them to really broadcast their case for a professional contract, or at least a senior academy contract at that.
But it's one of those ones, right, as well. Is as much as we know the league's about development and the academy players, or that, in this sort of situation, the under-20s sort of stars feature prominently and should feature prominently. It gives clubs who don't rely on, parachuted players, from the academy, that sort of bit more of an opportunity to turn around and say, yeah, this is a core squad. This isn't a regionally boosted squad, and we're going to be winning with it. And ultimately, I think there is that bit of old school club pride sort of factor in a lot of this as well.
Yeah, very, very true on that. So let's get into the thick of it. So I'm going off my top of my head by year, and I think we're starting in Pool A, which will be Llandovery against Cardiff. Dan Fish, very much on the same wavelength of everyone really. He's seeing this as an opportunity to see some of his younger boys have a taste of men's rugby. So I think that means even though we're seeing a very young Cardiff backline, we could see an even younger Cardiff backline coming into this game. So Joe, take us through what you're thinking and what you think Cardiff are.
Of what is, sorry?
The game. Llandovery Cardiff.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite. It's going to be down at Llandovery, isn't it? The first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite difficult for Cardiff at the moment. I think some of those combinations are going to be missing and have been probably for a while. And the lads that will be stepping up, I'm expecting more of the seasoned players to be playing this game who won't have a lot of minutes. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. That said, Llandovery will have a few changes of their own. I'm not expecting it to be a blowout either way. I think it'll be a competitive fixture, but I think Llandovery will have too much at home.
Yeah. I'm very much in agreement with you. They have lost a few boys to the under-20s, but the boys they've lost, they haven't seen a great deal of this season. One of them, Will Evans, who got injured, a couple of weeks in. And another one, Harry Thomas, who I think has only played 4 games out of the 12-13 they've played. So, not great losses. I'm still expecting a fairly full strength Llandovery side, and I even thinking this 5 points is going to be the minimum. So, Rob, what are you thinking on this?
Yeah, I think Cardiff have been thwarted, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, partially by under-20s allocations, but also by injuries in the pro team that have sort of meant that they've lost a few additional players to call-ups there. I think it was always quite clear that the squad was very thin at the start of the season, not in quality, but in numbers. Yes, they've got quite a big path where they can call from, but calling up somebody who's ready to play this level of rugby isn't always easy. And to top it off, you're going into a Llandovery sides that, like I said, haven't lost now since they lost the Shield in that very first game at Church Bank. So, yeah, I think Llandovery will be sniffing blood. We've seen what they can do. Llandovery will want to try and just tighten up the defences a little bit after Pontypool sort of result. That sort of could effectively spell a bit more trouble for Cardiff, I guess, in terms of it's sort of shaking Llandovery into saying, hang on, boys, we're a good squad, we're winning loads of games, but we can't be conceding 4 tries, or there's that risk that we may not win this game. And as you said, we're into effectively knockout rugby now, and you can't let anything slip in pools of this quality.
So, John, over to you for the last word.
I'm going to have to go for Llandudno on this one as well, I think. At home, like I said, 9 games on the bounce now. They really, really hit in their stride now. And it's hard to see anybody stopping them at the moment. I feel like they're on that kind of run now where they could conceivably go through to the end of the season, I think, without losing a game. That's how good they look in to me. I think the pitch will suit Cardiff as well, though, because they play on a similar surface down a cap. So there's not going to be any surprises there. It's not like going up to Pontypool or Evervale on a cold, wet day. So that might help, but I think it's got to be Llandudno 5 points for this one. But I could see Cardiff getting a point out of it from 4 tries because they can. We've seen the damage their backline can do this year. No matter who's been playing in it. But Llandudno home win for me.
Yeah. So next up, we've got RGC at home to Aberafan. Again, Pool A. So Jason Hyatt, after a 2-week preparation period, everyone's looking forward to the first round of the SRC Cup competition against RGC. We leave for North Wales on Friday and spend the night at our usual accommodation. This allows us to prepare well and give everyone the best pre-match build possible. So going up on the Friday night, pretty smart idea. Seems what they do anyway. So John, I'm coming straight back to you as the Aberafan man. What's going on?
This is a tricky one, isn't it? I think I saw this week, I think it's only 2 players we lose into the under-20s. Scott Denevo, the fullback, who has been outstanding this year. He's been one of the players of the season so far. And Saul Hurley at hooker. Saul isn't first choice, so I would say. So we can probably deal with that a bit better than Scott at the back. But I think they do have players that can step in. I know, I don't know if they play in there, but Joe Gage has played a lot of fullback before. I think he's played under-20s fullback as well. So I think we're fairly lucky with only losing 2 players. I think, I say it's always a horrible trip, isn't it? But RGC got to do it for every game, so I can't really use that as an excuse. But I do fancy, surprise, I do fancy Aberafan to go up there and win this because that is one of the games I did see the reverse fixture when the RGC came down to us. And I was expecting a lot out of them because they started the season so well. And I was surprised at how well Aberafan did control that game. They did let RGC back in when their inevitable lapse in concentration just came in for 10, 15 minutes. But it felt like Aberafan had the measure of them in whatever RGC were trying to do. Aberafan seemed to have an answer for it, and they didn't seem like they were going to lose that game. So, and I think that pitch will suit the way Aberafan like to try and play as well. And I know it'll be an advantage for RGC because it's their pitch and they love it. But it's going to be one score, I'm thinking, and I'm even thinking 5 points. It's going to be a very close one, but I'm going to pick Aberafan. Just to sneak it.
Yeah, there's no surprises there. You were always picking Aberafan. Don't try to make it out any other possible way. So, RGC, they're tough to beat at home. Just ask Rob. Everywhere got put to the sword. They got slain, put in the ground, 6 feet under, buried. We haven't heard from them since. No, then again, we haven't heard from anyone. So. Joe, you like a bit of RGC. You fancying them for this one, especially on their own patch?
Yeah, I think so. I think the surface suits them. I'm enjoying Hyatt's comment as well. We're going to stay in our usual accommodation. I'd love to know what that is. I'm hoping it's not Story Arms on the way up because it's not far enough. Yeah, I just think RGC at home are a different proposition, and they do they do play on that surface. They can play a very, very fast game, and I don't think they're missing many either. I think there's 2 boys for RGC that have been called into Wales under-20s. I'd have to double check, but I think the impact of some of the withdrawals is not massive on them. I think weirdly their squad is perhaps 20 and above, which probably suits them really nicely, mostly. So I don't see there being a massive impact on things. If anything, they might be missing a few of their coaches, RGC. So I know Saul's involved with the Wales under-20s normally. So it'll be interesting to see how Aberavon fare going up there. I think Aberavon can cope with quite a fast game, but I just think home advantage just tilts it slightly towards RGC for me.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I am back in RGC all the way. So you are right. There are 2 boys involved. Dylan Alford, who is attached to the Scarlets, and Tom Cottle, who, well, he's not attached to anybody. So
old RFC's finest.
Yeah, we've seen with other players in the past where they come into the under-20s unattached and they leave attached. So Owen Conker is one from last season, went in with no regional, no professional contract, and he walks out of it with one. So plenty of opportunities for this young man to showcase his own talents and pick up one of them contracts. So, Rob, last one. Let's have it.
Yeah, I think.
Come on, Rob.
You're high
Come on.
quality there. Oh, John, you might want to sit back in your seats.
It's just going to make me look biased otherwise.
Don't think we need to help with that.
Not the objective man that I am.
But no, I think both sides only losing the 2. But I think if you look at who the sides lose, Aberavon are definitely worse hit. But I just think the way that RGC do play, they'll be buoyed by a very good performance and a lucky conversion by Billy McBride in the last minute against Ebervale. I think that the problem that Aberavon will have is they can match RGC up front and probably better them. They can match that sort of open game plan, especially with a bit of a loose, ragged ball. But it's RGC just seem to drag people into that game unwillingly. And that's what they did against Ebervale. Ebervale are not the sort of team that want to get drawn into an 80-point thriller. And I think RGC are sort of going to be, RGC, Aberavon are going to be in a similar position to Ebervale in sort of that sort of mindset. They're not going to want to be, you score 1, try we'll score 2 sort of mindset. They're going to want to run disciplined, structured game. Now, Aberavon have typically the last couple of seasons struggled with some, defensive continuity and sort of holding it together in sort of midfields and allowing in some rather quick lapses of concentration, and the score shoots up. RGC will make that scoreline shoot up. They've got a very experienced back line, and they've all played on that surface. You got to look at the likes of Billy McBride, Avon Bagshaw, Dion Jones, Reece Tudor, Sam Stoddard. They've all played on this surface now together, or at some point together for the boys who've just come back in. And they've all played numerous seasons at this ground. So it definitely suits them. I just hope that Aberavon enjoy their curry in London before they come back down.
I had also forgotten that RGC had beaten Ebervale recently as well.
You can't change it now, John.
Yeah. But I would say one thing for Aberavon as well, their defence has been a lot better this year. If you look at their points conceded, is actually the second lowest in the entire league. So I think that's a massive. All right, they have played 2 less games than a lot of teams as well, but still.
That's the perfect way to end that one. Fair play to you boys. So that brings us into Pool B, and my first game on my list is Ebbw Vale at home to Carmarthen Quins. So Carmarthen Quins Director of Rugby Steph Thomas. We're excited to get going in the Cup. Ebbw have been excellent, and this is the key word by year, at home so far this season. But it's our first visit, and we're excited to get going. So, depending on how Ebbw Vale approach this, and same from Carmarthen Quins, it could go anyway. It really could, and I'm not just saying that to boil Rob's blood, because
He is.
Ebu have kept
Yeah, you wouldn't do that.
A fairly consistent 23. Well, 15, I'm going to say, because we never know the full 23 until after the fact. But I think it's probably time to see some changes at Ebu Vale. Let's see a bit of new blood in there, which, might do Carmarthen Quins a few favours, especially, being at home. You want to give your boys a run out on their home patch. You don't want a hostile crowd. So come on, Rob, what are we thinking?
Don't want a hostile crowd. Wait, can I just check that this game hasn't switched from being played at Ebervale?
Yeah.
But no, I think it's one of those ones. I think Quins, and I've said it a few times, have had a bit of lack of sort of continuity in their sort of side, and a few injuries at the Scarlets now mean that we probably won't see Charlie Titcombe that often. And unfortunately, he's sort of one of those players that Quins have really looked good with, similar with Tuapolotu. So those sort of players really make a difference. Now, Quins always make a pretty tough game of it. I guess it's, yes, Evervale have lost, a few times now this season, three games, and they're all away from home. So it's probably a good thing for Jason Strange that this game isn't at Carmarthen Quins. Saying that, we've got bad weather doing now the end of this week, and we all know what the weather changes like.
I was just thinking that as well.
So fingers crossed that we do actually get to see this, because I mean, Ebervale are only losing Harry Rees-Weldon from their squad. So I think it's a very interesting sort of game, because two sides, very similar sort of game plan. Quins probably at the moment, with the injuries in the Ebervale backline, have a bit more of an expansive game plan in hand, but haven't really been able to execute it with enough discipline to hold on to the ball. I think that's where Ebervale do really well, especially at home. Obviously, the Shield isn't up for grabs. The Shield's only up for grabs in the league.
Ooh.
Yes. Still at Ebervale, and doesn't matter what you want to say. Keep checking things. But no, I think this does have an opportunity to be one of those really good games where both sides just want to keep this continuity going. I don't think we'll see too many changes to the Ebervale side. I think they've had a few weeks now, and obviously without a game and disappointed coming off the back of that RGC defeat, and it was a long coach journey down for some of the boys afterwards with the snow to have a really good think of that. So yeah, I don't think there'd be too many changes coming in from Jason's perspective.
So obviously you're going for an Ebu win. I don't even need to.
Yes, just I'm blind faith, like John. The last time I said we weren't going to win, we did the double overland every. So
here we go. So another point on Carmarthen, they're losing two players to this 20 side. One of them, Ellis Price, hasn't featured much this season. Outside half come centre, or centre come whatever way around you want to say it. The other one is Yori Badam, who has been an ever-present in that back three, and fair play to the kid. He's come into this year, first year of senior rugby, and he's taken it by storm. Some of the performances I've seen from him, some of the tries he's setting up, just watching him against the Welsh academies, these past couple of weeks, what little highlights we're getting, he just looks a step above. So that's going to be a massive loss for Carmarthen Quins, on top of the likes of Charlie Titcombe and so forth, who will be with the Scarlets. So, John, who are you picking?
Ebervale.
Ebervale. It's as simple as that. He's got nothing more to say. Ebervale.
Yeah, just Ebervale at home. I can't see. I can see what Rob's saying about Carmarthen, but I just think I just can't see it going overcoming that home advantage for Ebervale. I just think it's going to be too strong. It's going to be a horrible day up there, I think, because we've got this storm coming in. So, like I say, hopefully these games go ahead. And if I'm Ebervale and who was the other one, big one in that group, Newport. If you're Ebervale Newport, you've got to target every home game now for maximum points, haven't you? So if that's the mindset they've got to go out there with, then I think it's going to be very difficult for Carmarthen Quins to stop that. They could get some tries of their own, maybe come away with a losing bonus point. But I see Ebbw Vale coming away with at least 5 from this one. I think they've got to.
You're killing me, Bayaba. Come on. Okay, Joe, please say I'm not on my own by you.
I'm afraid you're on your own. Ebbw Vale too much at home, way too much. And I think for me, one of the things that stood out in the league so far this season is I think Quins are one of those funny teams to call, to be honest, because you sort of watch them go away, and if they turn up, they're more than capable of winning. But then at other times, it's like they've never got off the bus. So it's really bizarre sometimes when you're sort of looking at Quins, deciding what's going to happen next. But I just think Ebbw Vale will want to have a good run in this competition. Their league form suggests they could have a good crack at it and win it. And I don't see them making an error at home. I just don't. I think the journey back down as well that we alluded to. I think they'll all be having a really good think about that, and they'll be desperate to with this layoff. They'll be desperate to prove everyone wrong and prove everyone what a good side they are.
So the final game in Pool B and the final game of the week is Pontypool at home to Swansea. Now, Swansea, one of only 2 teams to have played quite recently. Swansea, yes, they've got that first win, under their belts, but realistically, are we going to see a second one? No, I'm expecting a second one during this competition because just of how some teams might, take it. Pontypool go for youth, Ebbw Vale go for youth. You never know what's going to happen. So, Rob, straight to you. Pontypool, Swansea, what's going on?
Well, if Pontypool go for youth, I'll eat my shoe. No, I think this is the tasty pool with 3 sort of top quality sides in it. I just think for Swansea, it's that how do you want to approach the cup? Do you say realistically we'll have a go, but then as a coaching set of staff, you've got to set yourself realistic targets, even deep down. As much as you want to win each game, you take it win by win. This is a really difficult mindset for Swansea, and that's what they're going to have to get right, because realistically, Quins is probably the only one they're looking at going, we can give this a shot. Even that's a difficult game, but you're going to host Ebbw Vale, and Ebbw Vale have broken the record against Swansea for the last 2 years running in terms of most points scored against them down there. So I think this is really a mindset for Swansea. They need to find out their strongest 15. At the moment, they are lightweight up front. Their back line is dangerous, especially if they get a few Ospreys additions in and around there. It's just they don't seem to be settled on who their best 8 is at the moment, and I think that's something that they should be really nailing down, because where else is better than is the cup, but you're going to come up against the Newport, Pooler and Ebbw Vale packs, even Quins pack, or 4 strong packs. There's not a side in this pool with a weak pack outside of Swansea. And I think this is the key for them. Swansea probably, unfortunately, are the side that will have to rotate and play around a bit with the squads. But yeah, for Pontypool, I think this is their chance, to really just get a 6-pointer on the board, try and take an early leads in this sort of pool, and go from there. Obviously, they're going to be looking at this as one of 2 home fixtures. You would ideally like Newport and Ebbw Vale at home. It hasn't really worked out like that for anybody, so they'll host Ebbw Vale and travel to Newport, but that's probably favourable given how much confidence they'll take from beating Ebbw Vale at Christmas. So yeah, I think this is a big confidence booster for Pontypool more than anything.
Yeah. So on the Swansea front, we talk about players being taken with the under-20s. Lewis Edwards, Ian Cornelius, who obviously was a mid-season sign-in, Dangemine, I think that is it from their squad. So John, seeing as though this is your forte, does Swansea have a realistic chance of doing something, or should they approach it differently?
I can't personally see it. Like I said, Pontypool's a hard place for anyone to go, let alone when you're Swansea and you're struggling for wins. Even though they did have to go and get their one win, and again, throwing stuff around there. Against Aberafan after we're winning 3 in a row, and I'm like, oh yeah, we'll have a nice 6. No, we'll have a nice 12 points now off Swansea over Christmas. Go into the new year, lovely. And then, of course, that's they beat. So I'd love to see Swansea win that because it'd make us losing then look a lot better. But I can't. No, anyone going up to Pontypool knows how difficult it is to go up there and come away with something. And if you're Pontypool, you're going to be targeting that game thinking, yeah, we could start this cup competition now with a bang, set our stall out early, put a performance out, get a big score and get 6 points on the board first game off the bat. So that's what I'm expecting. Yeah, Pontypool 6 points for me personally.
Okay. Joe, final word on this game, my friend.
Do we know how many players are going to be missing for Ponty, if any?
I'm not 100% sure, but Dragons have announced they've lost Kai Evans and Angus O'Brien. So, there's a chance that there'll
be players called up to the Dragons.
If they're going up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Scott Williams is a bit too old to get called up for the age grades, but he might get a call up to the region. I don't know, but yeah, I just think I'm a big fan of Tom Hancock's, the coach at Pontypool, and I think scoring 4 tries down at Llandovery is going to get put into perspective over the course of the remainder of the league season. And I can just see him building something really good down there at Ponty. So I'm not expecting Swansea to get a win. I do think Pontypool will get at least 5 points, and I'll be surprised if they don't get 6 points. I think Pontypool will put them to the sword, to be honest. And yeah, they're my dark horses for the cup. Pontypool. They can keep Scott Williams fit, launch the back three into the game the way they want to. I think that pack will get parity with anyone on their day.
Fair enough. I'm trying to have a little look by here now to see. I do think Pontypool, outside of Ebbw are the only team to score 4 tries against Llandovery. So, I don't doubt Churchbank, obviously. So, that is a hell of achievement. So that brings all the games to a close. And you've kind of already answered my next question. Who are we backing to win the whole damn thing? So I'm taking Pontypool as your answer, whether you meant it or not. So, tough. John?
I like that as a shout for a dark horse. But I think my choice, I'm going to go for Llandovery for this one. I know they've won this cup before and recently, and I think they're hitting their prime now, hitting their stride, and that's I got a feeling. I'm going Llandovery.
He's got a feeling.
If they can get past Aberafan, obviously.
Oh, you put in targets in there as well, or you get to change your mind. No, don't work, but don't work.
Okay. Let it be noted, he's not backed Aberafan for the cup. All right.
Oh no, he hasn't. Oh no, what's going on?
Objective. Impartial.
Take that shirt down behind you. Take that shirt down.
All right then, Rob.
Well, going on history.
I'm actually in the John camp here. I'm going Llandovery, and that's partially the way that the fixtures run. You've got Cardiff at home, and then whilst there's not easy fixtures, you've got favourable fixtures, especially with 2 away out of those 3. And Llandovery are a knockout specialist. They know how to win. 3 trophies in the past 2 seasons, one of which was the cup. It's a one-off final in the stadium on TV. They're the sort of side that don't feel that, and I think I can see if Llandovery go through this weekend with a win of any margin, I think they'll be finishing top of that pool comfortably. And I think then it's a straight shootout between one of Newport, Pontypool, and Ebbw in terms of who they'll be facing. And then as much as that's a tasty tie, I think you still back Llandovery, and I'm still saying the Llandovery are favourites for the league as well, really. So, yeah, we've got a couple of Llandovery shouts.
Ooh.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm going exactly the same. I'm going Llandovery, and my main reasoning for this, like I know there's gap weeks in this competition, which I don't totally understand, but you're looking at Newport or Ebbw Vale being most favourites of this, and both their last two games are with each other and then Pontypool. So Ebbw Vale finish away to Pontypool and then at home to Newport away to Ebbw Vale and then at home to Pontypool. I think you're gonna have a few battered and tired bodies in there, which would lead. Look, it could be Llandovery, it could be Cardiff. You never know. You never, like, I don't think RGC, Aberafon or Bridgend are gonna think themselves in the fight for this. But I think whoever comes out top of Pool A is going to really fancy their chances just because of how difficult Pool B is. So that brings us to the end of this week. If you've managed to make it this far, thank you so much. Please like, share, subscribe, give us a comment. Do what
Tell
you
your
want.
friends. Tell your neighbour.
Friend. Share with a friend. Who knows? If they like rugby, send them this way. That'll be brilliant. So until next time, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. It's been brilliant to speak with all of you once again for the first time in what feels like forever. So until then, bye guys.
Cheers then.
Super.
Cheers, guys.
That was the Super Rugby Cymru podcast. Please rate, review and share us on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.